And now, live in studio, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. He's a successful entrepreneur, a real estate and finance expert, and goes to bat for you every day as your consumer advocate. Your host, Brandon Rhymes.
Yes, here we are again another day, committed to picking a fight with the mainstream media, the fake news, and providing you the timely truth. Centered around real estate, credit, finance, legal advice, and so much more. You're listening to the Consumer Quarterback Show, where our number one goals are to educate, entertain, enlighten, and most importantly, we want to engage you in an effort to help you win in any marketplace.
The only thing I'm addicted to right now is winning.
Addicted to winning, helping you win in any marketplace. That's the goal of our show. I want you to pull out your smartphone, save our Consumer Advocate hotline number in your phone, because at some point you're going to need it. 813-670-7372.
You used to call me on my cell phone.
670-7372, and that's REQB. And that's your hotline number. That's how you can engage us. Any questions, any comments, concerns you hear from today's show, we would love to hear from you. We're getting calls every week, every day, people coming in with different questions about credit and finance, estate planning, tax planning, so many areas that we cover here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. 80 show partners now, and you can find all of our expert contributors at consumerqb.com. That's our website, blog site, a plethora of information available for you at consumerqb.com. Just click on the Expert Contributors tab. You'll find their contact information there. You can also submit the contact form. I really appreciate all the emails we've been getting, an influx of questions lately around medical or health-related issues, insurance issues specifically as well. And consumerqb.com. Just click on that contact form. It's going to come directly to me. Now, my promise is that I'm going to get back to you before my head hits the pillow. And that's how you can engage us, and that's how we're going to help you win. We don't care if you're climbing a corporate ladder or if you throw a ladder in your truck on the way to work. This show's for you, and we're going to help you win. This segment is brought to you by Kipton's, the Hotel Zamora on beautiful St. Pete Beach, whitewashed Mediterranean Palace. Have you been down there? Have you seen this yet? You've got to take a look at the Zamora. They've got a restaurant on site, the Castile Restaurant, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, right on Gulf Boulevard in beautiful South St. Pete, 3701 Gulf Boulevard. And if you're a boater like me, you can pull your boat up right there. They've got the boat docks, got a beautiful pool area. You can hang out, hot tub pool, and just enjoy a nice family time, a little staycation. If you want to stay overnight, let them know the Real Estate Quarterback sent you. You're going to get a 15 to 20% discount off of your room stay. I've heard from several listeners, even some of our partners, that are taking them up on that offer, and it's a beautiful hotel. So the Kipton's, the Hotel Zamora, the official hotel partner of the Consumer Quarterback Show. All right, let's go around the horn now, make our introductions. We've got John Grant coming in. He's running a little bit late, but he's going to be in soon. We also got Jarrett Nichols here, owner and project manager, Tampa Bay Electronic Systems. Welcome in, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me on again. Today I'm going to touch on a little bit of our big thing is obviously smart home and home automation. So I'm going to touch on some of the differences between professionally installed smart home and home automation systems versus some of the stuff you're seeing out there that you could pick up, on the internet and set up yourself. Advantages, disadvantages, do some comparisons.
Yeah, excellent. I like that. I like that topic. So many people try to do it themselves these days, and it's one thing to try to sell your house. It's you're trying to save some money on installing your own electronic systems in the home. I heard the story as well about the pest control folks that they try to do their own pest control. The family actually killed themselves on accident by trying to do the pest control themselves. It rained and went up through the house, and it was a very horrible story to hear. But some of this do-it-yourself stuff might not be as advantageous as it seems. Also in studio, first-time appearance. Excited to have attorney Kevin Astle in the house. He's an attorney with Brandon Legal Group. Welcome in, sir.
Thanks, Brandon. I've been practicing law for about 17 years, and kind of along the lines of the do-it-yourself angle, a lot of small businesses that I see and I represent have unfortunately tried to do things on their own without the benefit of legal counsel. And then unfortunately I'm called in at some point to try to fix the problem, when if you just go and consult and talk with an experienced attorney regarding your business needs, you could head a lot of those things off at the pass. So today I'd like to touch on some very basic business principles, LLCs, sub-S corporations, independent contractor agreements, basic things that all businesses should be thinking about when they first get started.
That's right. Yeah, I love it. The different types of organizational structures, the protections in place, certain things to have in these documents, and also the importance of a non-circumvention, non-disclosure agreements, different ways. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about W-2 versus 1099 agreements. Lots of cool things here on the Quarterback Show, helping you win, making you more informed as a small business owner out there or even a consumer. That's what we're here for. We want to help you with this. And right now, sometimes in life, you want to call that audible. So we got Peyton Manning helping us there with that audible. Now, we always start with a little personal development. Real quick today, what we're going to talk about is one of my favorite topics. It's the vital few, the power of focus, and Pareto's principle. So 1895, an Italian economist named Wilfredo Pareto discovered that 20% of the wealth in Italy was owned by 80% of the wealth, rather, was owned by 20% of the population, 20% of the wealthy. And ultimately, that has grown into a much bigger idea. We find that here, obviously in the United States and business and finance. And what you find is that that rule, the 80-20 rule, is resonating throughout society in many different ways. And the point of the rule is that if you were to write down top 10 list of things that you do every day, right? You've got this top 10 things. Hey, here's what I do every day. I do some prospecting. I make calls. I do social media. I do emails. Whatever your top 10 list is, if you were to look at that list and analyze it, you'll be able to figure out the top 2 or 3 things that are generating 80% of your income. 80% of your success are coming from those top 2 or 3 functions, right? So that's what we want to remind you of, the ability to power of focus. It boils down to the power of focus, and 20% in terms of your time, and that's our number one asset. We talk about money, we talk about different things, relationships, the power of your network, but your time is your most important asset. So where are you going to focus at? So you want to take out a piece of paper, write it down, your top 10 goals, pick one, then pick 2. That's your most important. And the power of those 2 goals, or those 2 strategies that you're utilizing every day. And 85% of rich people have one big goal that they work on all the time. They're so future oriented in their thinking. They're thinking about the future all the time, planning, having that long time perspective that we talk about with that Harvard study that Dr. Edward Banfield did. So we talk about that a lot. So if you want to be rich, you got to think like rich people do. Focus on the vital few and focus on the power of focus, where you're focusing at, where your energy flows, where your focus goes, your energy flows. So that's your quarterback tip for the day, your 2-minute drill, and your audible here. So let's go ahead and jump into this great content in studio here. Jarrett Nichols and Tampa Bay Electronic Systems. So you got a lot of DIYers out there. They want to do it themselves. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I think there's a term called the Internet of Things that's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and that kind of also describes a lot about what I'm talking about. I get asked to install a lot of these devices, so we're very familiar with what they do and how they operate. But these are actually things that are extremely easy for end users to set up. I guess the 2 barricades would be just your technical abilities and how much free time you have. I guess the how much free time you have thing also kind of goes to where our clients choose us. I mean, that's the benefit of professional home automation. It's going to work, and we're going to support it if it doesn't. And if you buy a Ring doorbell or something along those lines and it stops working, a lot of times nobody answers the phone for tech support. You submit a request and maybe a day later look it back. I mean, I don't know specifically for each product how that works, but those are some of the things that you're up against. And example of a couple other things that are huge, Alexa. They're really positioning themselves to take over. They're integrating with almost every other smart device. Just this past week, I don't know if anybody saw it, they came out with a 7-inch, I believe, kind of video screen that you could talk to.
Wow. Say,
hey, I want to watch, give me the news updates, and you'll actually have news pop up. It's built for, sit on in your kitchen or your nightstand. But those are do-it-yourself products.
Wow.
But they also do work with the systems that we sell. So,
and you look at that too, and when you have a problem, you have something come up, you call that number. I've called, I think it was Apple, and it says right there on your billing statement, it says, I'm like, what was this bill for? Let me call them. You call the number, it directs you to a website.
Exactly.
So how frustrating is that?
Well, that's a part of the problem is that you don't have real life support. You're submitting something, you're reading forums, trying to be like, well, this worked for this guy, let me try this. I mean, it's a headache. Our clients that we work with on these larger home automation systems really appreciate the fact that they come home and they hit a button and everything they want to happen happens. And if it doesn't happen, they're going to send me a message and say, hey, this isn't working. And, a lot of times we could even fix that kind of stuff on site. But that, obviously the biggest thing, and that's a drawback, is if you don't have a bunch of money to put in crazy systems in these giant houses, you can't, put in professional home automation. So you're looking at do-it-yourself type stuff. Not that that's something we can't help with, but, you run into problems where things just stop working and nothing makes sense.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Jarrett Nichols, owner, Tampa Bay Electronic Systems. He's an expert in that space. If you're looking for more information around that, stay with us here on the Quarterback Show. Also going to bring in attorney Kevin Astle from Brandon Legal Group into the conversation. And we got a cool top 10 list for you as well. We love our top 10s and kind of mix it up with you. But today we're going to be talking about the top 10 highest paid athletes in 2016. So stay with us here. Quarterback Show, Platinum MVP Realty, ConsumerQB.com.
Hey everybody, I'm Forbes Riley, celebrity TV fitness host and creator of The Spin Gym. I'm here today with Brandon Rhymes, and you're listening to the Consumer Quarterback Show. Great ways to get happy, healthy, and wealthy.
Don't forget, Brandon is Tampa Bay's #1 consumer advocate for real estate and financial advice. Visit realestateradiotampa.com or text the word VALUE to their consumer advocacy hotline at 813-917-1894. Call Brandon today, 813-917-1894.
All right, welcome back. Brandon Rhymes here in studio, owner of Platinum MVP Realty, published author, professional speaker, and a top real estate agent here in Tampa Bay, helping our sellers profit more on the sale of their real estate properties. Maximum exposure, maximum profits through our very unique, innovative strategies here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. We're talking business law today with attorney Kevin Astle here in studio, Brandon Legal Group, as well as Jarrett Nichols. He's the owner and project manager for Tampa Bay Electronic Systems. And we also want to give a big shout out to our sponsor, Hula Bay. Our official restaurant partner is Hula Bay, 5210 Tyson Avenue, right here in South Tampa. Beautiful restaurant, waterfront ambiance, and it's a great wide variety on the menu as well. You got excellent sushi that's shipped in from Hawaii every 2 days, and a great time on the weekends as well. If you haven't been to Hula Bay, they're our official restaurant partner. You want to go say hello to Mike and his team, or Todd and the team down there. Duke's Retired Surfer Bar on the weekends. They've got live music, also a marina down there as well, Freedom Boat Club, and a lot of cool things to do on the weekends right there. So check out Hula Bay over at 5210 Tyson Avenue in beautiful South Tampa. All right, we're back here in studio talking with Jarrett Nichols currently, and we're also going to hear from Kevin Astle as well. But Jarrett, a lot of things happening in the home electronic space. The everything from the beautiful flat screen, the LCD TVs, and the different types of virtual reality. What are you seeing out there?
We were just discussing some of the easy, I'll call them easy to set up, do-it-yourself type things like Ring doorbell and Alexa, stuff like that. Those things you just plug in. The Amazon devices you just plug in and sit on a counter. That's easy to do it yourself. We also see some really terrible attempts at people trying to actually do things where you're running wires through walls. The rat's nest of wire you might see. I don't know if you've ever seen that in real estate, looking at just wires hanging out everywhere. So we see some real nightmares, but I think you brought it up earlier regarding do-it-yourself. I mean, you could run into a real problem, electrical and even low voltage. I mean, sometimes weird things happen and high voltage gets on low voltage lines. It's not really something you need an electrical license to do that in Florida. So it's really not something that you want to try to take on unless you might have some experience in that.
And if somebody tries to do some of these systems as well, there's more and more hackers that are getting creative with the way they can tap into these systems, especially if it's a video camera or alarm. Have you ran into any interesting scenarios there?
I haven't, but, you're seeing more and more things. There was a huge breach of camera DVRs from one specific manufacturer where one big event happened and they were using these camera DVRs where people didn't bother to change the default passwords as links into people's houses and getting information. Just in the past few weeks, I've been seeing more and more articles as well about smart TVs and how a lot of them are not secure at all. Even read an article, I don't know if, the source, fake news or not, about CIA actually breaking in and spying on people through their smart TVs. So,
wow.
There is a security risk. I always recommend not using a smart TV. There's a lot of other media devices like, say, a Roku or an Apple TV or an Amazon Fire TV that are definitely more secure devices.
Are you seeing more and more people getting away from they say feeding the cable pig, right? The cable, they charge all this money and now you can get that through the Fire Stick. You can get that through some of these other systems, right?
Yeah, and you can get TV over the air for free, believe it or not. We are today, right as we speak, installing an over the air antenna in someone's house because they want to cut the cord. So,
wow.
There's plenty of opportunity to save money on that giant power bill every month and go with different options.
Yeah. So that's pretty neat. So I thought they had taken that away in the past. I thought somehow they took that away.
Believe it or not, if you stick an antenna on your roof, depending where you live in Tampa, I believe you could possibly get up to 70 over-the-air stations. What happens now is, say, for example, Fox Broadcast, they might have 2 or 3 substations. So when you pick that up digitally, it'll show up as, I believe, 13 around here. So it'd be like 13-1 would be your Fox channel, 13-2 might be X, So you'll find some have like old time TV shows. I mean, there's a lot of content out there.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's free and the best picture quality because it's not going to be compressed at all like the cable providers provide.
Wow, so you have to have a certain type of receiver to do that.
Most TVs, you just like back in the old days, you screw your coax right in the back. You scan for channels, and people tactically, if you want to use your smart TV, get one that is secure. Run all the apps you want, Hulu, Netflix, YouTube, and then have an antenna. I mean, there's so much content there. It's crazy. But you could also, a device that a lot of people have heard of, TiVo,
Yeah.
You could you could record that over-the-air stuff right on a TiVo. They make specific TiVos that only do Hulu, Netflix, some of the popular streaming services, and over-the-air TV and recording.
There you go. So if you're looking for a way to save some money, reach out to Jarrett. He can teach you how to do some of this. And Jarrett Nichols, he's the owner of Tampa Bay Electronic Systems. Got a great team here in Tampa Bay, and can definitely help you with that. So that's interesting. You think about that, and I think it goes back to the habit. It's the power of habit. We're in the habit of just signing up with the cable company. We make a move, and unless you live in an HOA community, you can't put the antennas on top of the tile roofs or whatever it might be. But that's a pretty interesting idea.
Yeah, and you could actually a lot of times put them in attics too. So you don't know, that's actually what we're doing today with that installation is we're going to put them in an attic, use an amplifier to try to get the signal. If that's adequate, we'll stay that way, and if not, well, I might have to put it outside. But antennas are still ugly.
Yeah, and when you look at saving money, I mean that's $100 a month. That's $1,200 a year typically that you can save depending on how you do that. So always looking out for the consumer here on the Quarterback Show, the small business owners out there, and giving you that helicopter view of the marketplace, helping you avoid a lot of the commission-based advice. And speaking of commission-based advice, you see that on the news. You see that in commercials now, more and more pop-ups online when you're on internet. Let's go ahead and bring our other expert contributor here in studio. We've got, John Grant couldn't make it in. I think he's not going to be able to make it. Eagle LED Lighting. But Kevin Astle, he's an attorney here in Tampa Bay, Brandon Legal Group, talking more today specifically about business law. So, Kevin, welcome in.
Hey there, Brandon. How are you?
Yeah, man. Things are great.
Sounds good. Well, let's talk about a couple of things that I wanted to kind of bring to everybody's attention.
Yep.
Especially if you're a small business owner or just a business owner. It doesn't have to be small. It can be any size. There's no requirement that you have either an LLC or a sub-S corporation. You can be a sole proprietorship if you'd like. And there's a lot of people that I know that do that. The issue that you find when somebody maintains a business as a sole proprietorship is if something happens that, for example, somebody sues you or somebody says you did something wrong and a lawsuit comes down the pike. Now, not only are they going to try to get damages back from the business, but you are the business. So really everything that you have could potentially be on that proverbial chopping block. And through organization, through either a limited liability company or some form of corporation, CS, or even a partnership, you can defer a lot of that liability and the debts of the company. You don't have to actually have your stuff be out there and subject to any type of judgment or execution. So it's something to consider for every business owner, and I know that that's a very basic concept, but it's something that I still find it still presents itself in my office on a weekly basis.
And don't you have to be careful, just thinking a layer deeper here, Kevin, is you have to be careful that you are operating as a business, because the other side of that coin is that if you're not and you're not doing certain things, then people can pierce the corporate veil, so to speak, right?
Well, piercing the corporate veil means you actually do have some level of corporate organization. It could be an LLC or a subchapter S corporation, but you're doing things that you shouldn't. For example, commingling assets. If you have an LLC and you pay your mortgage through your LLC and your personal mortgage, and you pay your personal electric bill, you pay your car payment, how that is likely going to be perceived is that corporation is an alter ego for you. You just set that up and use that to attempt to defer liability by telling everybody, hey, look, I have an LLC, so you can't sue me and get my stuff. But what you've done is you haven't used that LLC property. You haven't maintained the segregation between your debts and your assets and the debts and assets of the corporation or the company. And now that corporate veil can possibly be pierced. And now, unfortunately, when you thought you were protected, you really are not as protected as you thought you were.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And another area as well to consider if you are, again, a small, medium-sized business out there, you've got the traditional W-2 employee versus a 1099 relationship. I think maybe that could use a little definition as well, Kevin.
Well, okay. So a W-2 employee is what people typically know as what's called a withholding employee. And what you do is you have that employee, you pay them a paycheck, and either through yourself or through a payroll company, you withhold certain taxes, federal tax, Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, and you also pay employment taxes to the federal government. Your business does on its own on behalf of those W-2 employees. Now that's kind of what everybody knows is just to be as an employee. There's also independent contractors, and those are people that are not W-2 to withholding employees. The business doesn't pay anything on their behalf. The independent contractor pays all of their own taxes, expenses, otherwise. And in that situation, typically a business will issue a 1099, Form 1099. It's an IRS form that allows you to declare the income that you have given to that independent contractor. And I always suggest, if you're a business or a small business with an independent contractor, you have some level of agreement with them. And by agreement, I as an attorney, I typically mean a written agreement, something that will hold up and defines the relationship,
Right.
what they're providing for you, what you're providing for them, what you're paying for them, and what you're not paying. For example, in an independent contractor situation, typically you're not paying for their gas or their transportation. That's
Yep.
they take care of that on their own.
Excellent. Yeah, absolutely. More from attorney Kevin Astle, Brandon Legal Group. Jarrett Nichols also in studio here. And we're going to go over our top 10 highest paid sports athletes from 2016. Top 10 list coming up for you here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
This is Warwick Dunn, and you're listening to the Real Estate Quarterback Show hosted by my man, Brandon Rhymes.
Don't forget, Brandon is Tampa Bay's #1 consumer advocate for real estate and financial advice. Visit realestateradiotampa.com or text the word valued to their consumer advocacy hotline at 813-917-1894. Call Brandon today, 813-917-1894.
All right, welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us. Brandon Rhymes here, Quarterback Show, Platinum MVP Realty, a former USF football player, played on the inaugural football team here at the University of South Florida, longtime quarterback on my sports teams. Now we're quarterbacking transactions for our listeners, our viewers of our television show on WeBeam TV, and also quarterbacking introductions to all of our expert contributors, over 80 show partners now with the Consumer Quarterback Show, and we all want to help you win. We want you to think of this show as the hub of your financial, your business, your health wheel, and each spoke extending out, representing another one of our preferred partners, our on-air expert contributors that go to battle every day to help you win no matter what you're facing. So we want you to make sure you save our hotline number in your phone. It's 813-670-7372. And also bookmark our website, consumerqb.com. You get the hotline 670-7372. That's a Tampa number, 813 area code 670-REQB. And then also consumerqb.com to submit the form. And our promise is to get back to you before our head hits the pillow. Want to give a big shout out to Healthy Gourmet, Felicia Lacaille with Healthy Gourmet. She cooks these awesome meals for me and some of our other partners as well. Organic veggies, natural proteins, delivered fresh 3 times a week. Meal plan starting at only $90. So instead of pulling through those fast food restaurants, getting some of that food that you know is not good for you, it's got packed with preservatives and all that good stuff. It's got to be shipped from someplace, and then they prepare it on site. But Healthy Gourmet, organic veggies, natural proteins delivered to your home or office 3 times a week. I love it. Monday, Wednesday, Friday rolls around. I've got a brand new pack full of meals there. Excellent food that I can enjoy at my leisure. Warm them up on the stovetop. I'm not doing so much in the microwave nowadays since Jarek Robbins, friend of the program, been on the show several times, talked about some of the stuff going on with microwaves now, some of the recent studies. But Healthy Gourmet, Felicia Lacaille, reach out to them. Let them put you on a meal plan. What else do you have in this world if you don't have your health? Very important. All right, in studio here today, Jarrett Nichols, Tampa Bay Electronic Systems, also Kevin Astle, attorney with Brandon Legal Group, and we're kind of got a DIY theme, do-it-yourself theme today. Jarrett was talking about some of the different things he's seeing in that space, folks trying to put in these different systems in their home, and Kevin, we're going to elaborate a little bit about ways that you see these folks trying to go on the internet and do their own agreements and do their own setups. So the idea is to save a little bit of money, but ultimately it can cost you more in the end.
Yeah, that's actually something I see quite a bit. And again, there is no requirement that you hire a lawyer or use a law firm to take care of your legal agreements. But if you don't and you've left something out, then probably you're going to be giving me or one of my colleagues a call and asking us to dig you out of a hole somewhere or out of a lawsuit. I try to advise all my clients, stay away from internet lawyering. There is so much more disinformation out there than there is information. There is no substitute for a consultation with an experienced attorney. Most of us don't even charge for a consultation. I know that we don't. Yep. I mean, so you're not costing yourself anything but an hour of your time to drive to the office or do it over the phone if you can't get there and pick our brains. I mean, that's what we're here for. And I'll give you an example. 68% of businesses over time will fail. And if you were standing at the side of the road and you watched 68 people cross the road and get hit by a car and killed, how would you feel about your chances if you were number 69?
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, that's what you're doing when you're taking your business into your own hands. I mean, we have experience in these matters for a reason. I mean, we litigate around them. We draft agreements surrounding them. Why would you just go get a one-page agreement off of the internet and think that that's going to protect you? It's usually not going to.
Yeah, it's a mistake that you see a lot, and we've had these different issues come up on the show where people have lost hundreds of thousands of dollars just by not being proactive or not by understanding what they've signed or read. So we want to help you avoid those mistakes out there. So what do you recommend, Kevin?
Relating to not signing agreements without having them reviewed?
Yeah, just in general, generally speaking, I think, the idea is be proactive, understand decisions. We talk a little bit about in the green room about, having the discipline of slow thinking versus fast thinking and reactionary thinking. So many times today we jump into something, we just react. If somebody says a question, it's like, an immediate reaction. We need to slow down between those thought processes in many cases.
That's right. And I definitely agree with that. And I would say that if you have your own business, chances are that is your sole livelihood. I mean, that's what you use to pay the bills and put food on the table and take care of your family, unless you have multiple businesses, which it's still important for you to make sure that they're all successful. And in that success, if you do make those rash decisions, if you don't at least slow it down enough to make a good judgment call and get a consultation with experienced counsel, then that potential livelihood could be put in jeopardy. And your example, you said, I mean, sometimes could cost $100,000. I'll add to that. If you don't really do things, if you don't set it up appropriately in the beginning, you could be paying for that attorney and throwing good money after bad. You might not be able to recover your attorney's fees. That's a penalty, because I'm here to tell you that we don't charge the most in the world in our law firm, but we're not the least expensive. But I mean, a litigation can cost $20,000, $30,000, $50,000.
Yeah,
it really can, and that's how. And you come out of that out of pocket. You may have a chance to recover that at some point, but you're still paying that, and that's a dear amount of money.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a Kevin Astle. We also have Brandon Legal Group. We got Jarrett Nichols in studio. So if you want to reach out or engage and look for a free consultation, if there's something that, kind of jog in your memory here, you're thinking, this makes sense, just reach out. Just shoot a quick text message to our hotline, 670-7372. That's where you can engage us, 670-7372. And Kevin, in this space of law, there's so many things happening out there. It's such a fluid area, being a small business owner or being in business. We talked about different corporation styles. We talked a little bit about some of the protections. There's also non-circumvention, non-disclosure agreements. There's other areas of, having that foresight and thinking about when you're a business owner.
Right, that's exactly right. And for example, I think we talked a little bit earlier, you said in the green room, if you have a business and maybe you're thinking about a new idea to expand that business, and you go talk to Bob, and Bob's a friend of yours, and Bob has a different business. If you don't have an NDA, which is a non-disclosure agreement with Bob, Bob can take your idea and run with it, and he can do that on his own. He doesn't require your permission or your input, because an idea is not able to be protected. That's an oversimplification. There are such things as trademarks, but we're not going to get into that in this program. That's a little bit more advanced. But so you protect yourself by making Bob sign an NDA and say, hey, Bob, look, I want to talk to you about this business venture I have. I think we can work together on this, and we can both, really prosper with this. But make him sign an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, so that whatever you and he discuss is confidential between the two of you, and he's not going to run off with your idea and take it, and then you get to sit there and watch him become rich upon your, good advice and plans.
Yeah, and that's something, too, is you think about, we've all had ideas. You think about ideas you've had, and then all of a sudden you see it on TV, or you see it on Shark Tank, you're like, man, I had that idea first. You got to act on it. That's one of the big things that we find, in this space of entrepreneurship is acting on those ideas. We have those great ideas, and you got to act on them. But so it's something that you definitely want to consider. Now, if that were to play out and the person does, now you're in that position of having to enforce the agreement. The NCND agreement is the acronym for that, a non-circumvention, non-disclosure. Talk about that process, Kevin.
Well, I mean, so in that example, you've gone to contract with Bob. You each have signed the agreement, and Bob decides he's just going to go ahead and do it on his own. In that situation, then you have a number of options. Typically, we'd send a cease and desist letter to Bob and say, hey, Bob, you've done this. Here's the agreement you signed. Here's what you agreed not to do, but you're actually doing that. So please stop and send us a written confirmation that you're going to stop. Otherwise, my client will take care or take advantage of his legal rights, which could include a lawsuit. But, I don't tend to threaten. That's just really not my style. If I'm going to sue somebody, I just sue somebody. I don't tell them I'm going to do it ahead of time.
Right.
So that's, that would be, and then you'd move to enforce that and file a lawsuit if Bob decides, well, I don't really care. I'm just going to ignore this and throw it in the trash.
Yeah, absolutely. And now I know there's some business owners out there that could benefit from a consultation with you. People, you mentioned earlier that you can do a free consultation for folks. Let's kind of set the framework for that. They come in, they have a small business. They're thinking, wow, this sounds interesting. The protections that he mentioned, the different types of agreements. Let's talk about that process. Someone just going to contact you, sit down with you. We'll make it real easy for them.
Perfect. Well, what we do is when somebody calls up, they usually talk to my paralegal. She books the appointment, again, whether it's in person or over the phone. We send them in what we call our intake form or questionnaire. It's got some questions on there that'll give me a little bit of easier time to issue spot once they actually sit in front of me, and make sure that we use that hour very wisely, because we're not there for me. I don't really care what I have to say. I care what they have to say, and I care about what questions they have to ask me. So in that hour, I try to be as efficient as possible and use that to give them the best information, advice, and direction that I can under their particular circumstances. So I do ask a number of questions. I ask them to bring in any documentation they may already have. I do try to counsel against somebody coming to me and saying, well, hey, I've already signed this. What does this mean?
Yeah.
That's a problem already at that point. If you've signed something and you're just asking for it to be interpreted, you really should have talked to an attorney prior to accepting that agreement and having it executed. But so that's generally how I conduct my consults.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll jump in more about that. And when we come back, we're going to bring Jarrett Nichols back into the conversation. And we got an interesting top 10 list for you here. The top 10 highest paid athletes of 2016, according to Forbes.com. So start thinking about that and see who you can guess. We've got soccer players on the list, basketball, football players, tennis, and golfers as well. So think about that. And when we come back, let's see if you can guess as well. And more from our expert contributors here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, ConsumerQB.com.
Thanks for listening to my daddy's show right here on iHeartRadio. And please check out realestateradiotampa.com to buy or sell real estate and see all of his expert contributors. Thank you.
Don't forget, Brandon is Tampa Bay's #1 consumer advocate for real estate and financial advice. Visit realestateradiotampa.com or text the word VALUE to their consumer advocacy hotline at 813-917-1894. Call Brandon today, 813-917-1894.
All right, thanks for sticking with us. Brandon Rhymes here, Quarterback Show, Platinum MVP Realty, Rhymes Media. We're having an event coming up on the 25th of the month. You may have heard our commercials airing, but on the 25th, we're having a free digital marketing and business growth seminar at the Hotel Zamora. Our official hotel partner is the host, and at 6 o'clock, we're taking it to the rooftop. We're going to have a happy hour up top there, networking happy hour. So it's a great opportunity if you're a small business owner, want to learn more about how to dominate your competition online, how to grow your online presence. Maybe it's something like click to call, making sure your website's click to call on mobile devices, very important these days. Retargeting is huge as well on Facebook. Learn more to earn more. We've got a free digital marketing and business growth seminar on the 25th. It's a Thursday, the 25th, 3 to 5:30 at the Hotel Zamora, followed by a rooftop happy hour up top. And by the way, the rooftop at the Hotel Zamora is voted top 3 in the eastern seaboard of the United States. Great views of the Gulf of Mexico and a nice day and evening planned for you by Quarterback Productions. Giving a big shout out as well to Smart Move Moving and Storage, the official moving partner of the Consumer Quarterback Show. Smart Move Moving and Storage. Say hello to Hannah and her team over at Smart Move for all of your moving needs, local and long distance moves, as well as the Maids Cleaning Service. They are referred for a reason. 24-hour, 100% satisfaction guaranteed by the Maids Cleaning Service. They do a great job cleaning our real estate properties. 24-hour, 100% satisfaction guaranteed by the Maids Cleaning Service. They are referred for a reason. All right, we're back here in studio, and Jarrett Nichols in the house, Tampa Bay Electronic Systems, and we've got Kevin Astle. He's an attorney here with Brandon Legal Group, and I accidentally called him an expert. Give us the disclaimer.
Well, the Florida Bar only allows attorneys that are board certified to be considered experts or specialists. I concentrate my practice in business law, also family law, but we're not talking about that today. I just want to make sure that everyone understands that it's not ethical for me to be considered an expert, even though I've been doing this for 17 years. So I just want to make sure that I'm not running afoul of our wonderful Florida Bar.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so we got the legal disclosure out of there. But, so we're having a lot of fun. We're talking about DIY today on the show and the struggles that small business owners have, medium-sized businesses. And I'm going to kind of throw the mic to Jarrett Nichols here. Jarrett, maybe talk about, how you transition with your business at some point.
Well, you can call me an expert as much as you want to, because that's fine. I am an expert.
There you go. Yeah.
When it comes to business, I find it kind of odd how many people run businesses and literally know nothing about business. So many people almost step in something and kind of get what they are because they're a good salesperson or something. Right. And I've always been one that does everything by the book. And you have to have a lawyer. You have to have a lawyer do things and look over things, or you're gonna find yourself in a bad situation at some point in time. So I had a specific situation where I left a company when I started this company, and did have to go out and kind of just ask some questions because I didn't know legally what I was able to do. So, in that instance, I had to go seek some advice.
Did you have a non-compete agreement with where you were previously?
No, I literally didn't even sign a handbook, so there was no agreement whatsoever in place.
Okay. And maybe we can talk a little bit about what the difference is between a non-disclosure agreement and a non-compete. A non-disclosure agreement, like we've already discussed, it means that you're not going to talk about certain things that both parties have agreed that you're not going to disclose. A non-compete is something that companies will use to limit what employees can do after they leave the employment of the company. For example, if you're a top salesman somewhere and you've obtained some trade secrets at that company, maybe a Microsoft or an Apple or something like that, they're going to probably make you sign a non-compete agreement that says you can't leave their employee and go to work for a competitor down the street next week. Typically, non-compete agreements have to be reasonable in time. You can't say, well, you can't work in this industry for the next 10 years. That's not going to be seen as reasonable. Also, it has to be seen as reasonable in the geographic restriction. You can't say you can't do this anywhere but in Zimbabwe 12 years down the road. That is going to be seen as definitely not reasonable. But if it's within 20 miles of where that company is located and for a year, that's probably going to be seen as reasonable.
Yeah, it's interesting when you look at this landscape, and that's kind of the American dream is to they say to own your own house, but to own your own business. If you take it a step further, so it's going to happen. It's one of those things that as a business owner, you have things happen. Especially you see it in real estate. Realtors jump from one ship to the other, but we want to make sure you're thinking a layer deeper here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. In studio today, Jarrett Nichols, Tampa Bay Electronic Systems, and attorney Kevin Astle, Brandon Legal Group. Let's go ahead and do our top 10 list. So we've got the top 10 highest paid athletes of 2016. So on this list, we've got 2 soccer players, 3 basketball players, 1 football player. Tennis players are 2 and 2 golfers. So Jarrett, let's start right here with you. See if you can guess the top 10 highest paid athletes of 2016. Who's on the list?
This is a funny one because I think there's a guy named Michael Schumacher that used to always get this title, and he was like a Formula One racer or something, but you didn't mention that. I know he's out of the game now, but I would say Messi.
Messi, you got right up top. Messi is up top. He's number 2 on the list. All right, Kevin, you're up.
Are we going just one at a time or just guessing on mass?
Yeah, just give a quick guess. Whoever, top 10 here.
I don't even know if he's still playing. David Beckham.
David Beckham. I don't see David Beckham. Sorry to buzz you there. All right, Jarrett, back to you.
I'm going soccer again. Let's do Ronaldo.
Ronaldo, number 1. Boom, number 1 right there.
You got it. Soccer, I guess.
Yeah, soccer, right? Well, I tell you what,
I guess it's got to be good.
That's the trend. That's where it's going. My generation, it was more, football and so you got number 1 and number 2 on the list there, Jarrett. So let's talk about the numbers here. So number 2 on the list, Lionel Messi, $81.4 million, $53.4 million salary, $28 million in endorsements, and Cristiano Ronaldo, $88 million, $56 million salary, $32 million in endorsements. A lot of money there. A lot of money. And Kevin, it leads to another question is, do these guys have an estate plan in place? That's the other side of this thing.
If you have that level of salary and money, then you probably have an entire legal team devoted just to protecting your assets and everything that you have and your family.
Yeah, you think so, and then you look at who was it? Prince died. You got Tony Soprano, aka James Gandolfini. A lot of these guys, they don't think that layer deeper. They don't have those teams in place, and unfortunately, they're leaving a lot of money on the table. And Brandon Legal Group, you guys can help folks with that as well, wills and trust, and getting that in place as well.
We can.
Yep, absolutely. All right, we'll go back to the list here. All right, so we've got number 3 on the list, LeBron James, basketball player, $77.2 million. Number 4, Roger Federer. Got tennis guys showing up in the top 5. 5 is Kevin Durant. And then down the list here, number 6, Novak Djokovic, another tennis player here. Number 7, Cam Newton, also showing up on there. I guess he's the only football player on the list, Cam Newton there.
That's got to be a lot of endorsements, I would think.
Yeah, $41 million salary, $12 million in endorsements. Phil Mickelson, number 8, actually got caught up in some legal stuff this year. SEC named Phil Mickelson in May as a relief defendant, but did not charge him with the crime in insider trading.
I was going to guess Phil.
Yeah, that's interesting there. So you had that potential charge out there looming. All right, let's go ahead and jump into our lightning round. Top tips, things to do, things to avoid. Jarrett Nichols, you're up first.
I would say make all your employees, if you're scared they're going to steal stuff, sign a non-disclosure or non-compete agreement.
There you go. Right on point. Absolutely. Kevin, you're up.
I will kind of echo that, but a little bit more simply. Don't sign anything legal, especially if it's lengthy and has lots of that fun legalese that we all hate. Don't sign it without having a lawyer look at it. It's far more expensive to fix something on the backside than it is just to pay for a review up front.
Yeah, absolutely. Think about clear thinking as well. My quick tip there is that habit of slow thinking versus fast thinking that we talk about. Develop that habit. Take your time in reading these things, especially if it's dealing with money, relationships. Those are things you want to develop that habit and think about it longer. And if the person tries to rush you into it, one of these sales jobs, you got to find out today. Listen, if you need to know the answer now, the answer is no. But if you give me time to consider it, I might change that answer. Jarrett, let's do another quick tip from you. Quick tip, thing to do.
Getting back to do-it-yourself stuff, I guess if you're considering doing a do-it-yourself thing, really consider what the do-it-yourself project is that you're going to take on and whether you do have the skills to do that. If you've never used a tool, probably don't try to do tile in your bathroom or something along those lines. If you really don't understand the internet, don't get any of these internet things.
Yeah.
Hire a pro.
That's it. Hire a pro. Of course, making sure they're licensed, bonded, insured, looking at all that as well, helping you win in any marketplace. I want to thank attorney Kevin Astle, Brandon Legal Group. I want to thank Jarrett Nichols, Tampa Bay Electronic Systems, and all of our listeners out there, all the viewers. Thanks so much for listening to the show. We'd love to hear from you on our hotline, 813-670-7372. 670-7372. Anything you heard today, please engage us. Shoot us a text or a call. The website as well is consumerqb.com. Just submit the form. And please go out there and consider committing a random act of kindness. Something as simple as packing up leftover food you may have, handing it to that person that you see in need. Be a force for good in our community here in Tampa Bay. Go and volunteer, maybe donate some money or time and help others. Be a force for good. And also, we'll see you at the Hotel Zamora on the 25th for our free digital marketing event. Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com. Hey,
this is Grant Cardone, and you're listening to Consumer Quarterback Show, hosted by my friend Brandon Rhymes. Do not touch that dial. I'll come right through the radio and grab your throat.
Don't forget, Brandon is Tampa Bay's #1 consumer advocate for real estate and financial advice. Visit realestateradiotampa.com or text the word VALUED to their consumer advocacy hotline at 813-917-1894. Call Brandon today, 813-917-1894.